All right, good afternoon. I know you guys missed me because you've missed the intro the last few weeks. I'm so excited to be back. Not really. I'm kidding. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know. Nobody's having fun today except for Kristen. She gets my humor. All right, welcome everybody to the January installment of Texas Leadership Network Mastermind. It is Thursday, January 12th, 2023. Holy cow, how did we get here already? And we've got a great topic today. It is goals. I'm super excited about that. Since we have some newbies on the call today, I just wanted to go through what in the world is a mastermind and how do we run this mastermind here for Texas Leadership Network. So first and foremost, Texas Leadership Network is made up of about 15 coaches across the state of Texas. We've got one on all the way from El Paso today and several from the Dallas, Fort Worth area and Houston. So anyone who participates gets the benefit of having that much brain power from the coaching community on, as well as the brain power from all of the industry professionals that join us every month. We'd love for you to join us every month because this conversation continues and we all build relationships with each other. I heard Karen when she joined, she said, hello, family. And we appreciate that because that's what we're trying to create here is a family of people who can help hold us accountable to the goals that we want to set. So what in the world is a mastermind? It's a peer mentoring group. We come here, we present a topic, we talk about it. And if someone self-selects and says they need help, sometimes we can help them through a challenge they may be having right now or may see in the future. It's about networking and it's also about helping reach your goals or at least announcing a goal here, and then we can help hold you accountable. Basics. There are no dumb questions. There are no dumb comments. It's all about participation and getting something out of this. The more you participate, the more you're going to get out of it. So welcome to our newbies. It's all about sharing skills, networking, and accountability. Today we have awesome coach. He knows I'm only saying this because we're recording this. I'm kidding. I love Shawn to death. He does an amazing job when he gives presentations and really gives us some thought-provoking questions. And he's going to talk about goals today. And if you don't already have them set, you should. That's something you need to get done. And if you don't have goals written down, do it and be the top 3%, right? Only 3% of the population actually writes their goals down. That's crazy. So Shawn, Lacagnina, I am turning it over to you, sir. It's all yours.
Thank you, Tricia. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody being here. And, you know, if you had a whole bunch of coaches online and a whole bunch of executive business leaders online, and it's in January, what do you think you're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about goals and looking forward and figuring out, you know, where are we? Where do we want to go? How the heck are we going to get there? And at the end of this, I'm going to challenge you. It's not going to be a heavy lift. So I'd love for you to have some paper and a pencil if you still do that kind of thing. If you want to put it on Word doc, okay. I prefer paper, pencil, pen, and paper to write some things down at the very end. Okay. So my goal for this conversation is to have a conversation. And at the end of it, maybe have some things to really think about even beyond. So rather than, hey, that was really cool. We learned some neat stuff, but how can we apply it to ourselves moving forward? So have that ready at the end. Time permitted, we'll do that. You know, most research shows, and I know Trish just said numerous studies show that about 3% of the population actually have goals. And of that 3%, only 1% write them down. That blows me away. The most recent research says that about 20% of all people even bother to have goals. Now, figure that out, right? And of that 20%, only 30% of the 20% actually achieve them. So it kind of, you know, at the end of the day, it's a very small amount of people that actually set goals and write them down, and even fewer that really pursue them. Why do you think that is? What are your thoughts on that when you hear those kind of statistics? Yeah, Karen.
In my case, when I write my goals down and I don't achieve them, I get frustrated and just decide, hey, it's not working, and I stop writing them, period.
Okay. And I don't think you're unique in that regard, right? Why else?
I think too, sometimes people think if like, kind of like what Karen said, if you set a goal and you don't meet it, it's not what it's supposed to do is push you to do more or to get there, but you think of it as a failure. So then you kind of like get down on yourself, but it's not supposed to be that way. But I think that's just how we think of it, that like I failed, I didn't meet these goals. Whereas you have to set goals in order to try to accomplish something. If you don't set it, then you have like willy-nilly, like the map, how do you get to place A to B if you don't have a roadmap? So
Right. So it demotivates you rather than motivate you. Right. And you're right. I mean, if there's one thing I can guarantee you, you will hit every target you don't set. Absolutely. Right. I mean, that is going to happen. Why are goals important?
So goals are important because think of if you were going to go on a long trip and that didn't use a map to assist you in getting from Southern California to the tip of New York. And so I like to think of goals and my goals as sort of that manual a GPS to help me create a direction for what it is I'm undertaking.
Okay. Who else has something to add to that? Philip, what do you think?
Goals give you a purpose in your day, in your month, in your week, in the year. You have to strive for something.
Any other thoughts? Bill, what do you think, sir?
I think goals are hugely valuable. In some respects, it's to help you say no to certain things. Like if you have some goals and you got some clarity of what you're trying to accomplish, then it's kind of like a little bit of a get out of jail free card to say, well, this isn't consistent with what I'm trying to accomplish. So I think that's why I find goals very valuable. It helps to separate what are those things that are helpful to goals and what are those things that are distractions from goals. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges people have is distractions. That I think people stop making goals partly because there's so many distractions that they might set goals and they don't stick to them because of all the distractions, and then kind of fall into that expectation of, well, there's always gonna be distractions. I can't stay focused on certain things, so maybe I just shouldn't have any goal. A little bit of kind of capitulating to the craziness of life.
Can I
Can I add something, Shawn?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I also think that I agree with everything people have said, but I think it's very important to have a healthy relationship with your goals. They're yours. And so somebody was saying that they sort of maybe look at them and it makes them feel bad. It's like, we want to feel like they're our friends and that they can help us to get to where we want to go to. So I think that they're not a stick to beat ourselves with. They're something to help us on our journey.
Absolutely. Trish?
I was going to tell Bill, I love what he said, which is to keep us on track and help us say no, right? So I tell people all the time, ask yourself, is what you're doing right now contributing to your goal or contributing to the vision, right? So, but Bill, what you said is so simple, right? Have a goal so that you can say no. And that's something that I struggle with, and I know a lot of people do, right? Telling people no. But if what I'm doing right now is not contributing to that goal, then I should say no. I love it.
And in that light, every time we say yes to something, we are saying no to something else. Right? I mean, every time we commit to something, we've said something else isn't going to happen. So let's just start here. By a show of hands, be honest, right? We're all friends here. We're all family, as Karen said. Who here has goals, both personal and professional? Philip? No? Okay. Keep your hands up. How many have them written down? Hands start to fall. How many review them on a regular basis? When's the last time you reviewed them?
It is only January 12th. Does this week count?
It does. I mean, it's
Morning
on a
when
regular
this morning when I
basis.
wrote them.
Yeah. Oh, when you did it this morning. Fantastic, Karen. Fantastic. So what do we obtain? We've talked a lot about the importance of goals, but what do we obtain or learn from our goals? How to say no, right? And what to say yes to, that's critical. And as Eddie pointed out, having this relationship with our goals, they are our goals for the most part. Now, we've all been in situations probably in the past where people have put goals upon us. And that comes down to this whole idea of desire and commitment. If I set a goal, if I say, I need to lose weight, I want to lose weight, so I'm going to set a goal to lose weight, as opposed to my doctor saying, Shawn, you need to lose weight. Where's my commitment level to those goals? If I set it, I'm at one level, right? If my doctor sets it on me, it's like, yeah, okay, I agree with you, man. Yeah, I need to lose weight. But when that cheeseburger offer is made, where am I probably going to jump to? Right? All of a sudden, that doctor's just a doctor. Desire and commitment. Our desire to achieve a goal, our commitment level can never be higher than our desire to achieve a goal. So if I don't have a really strong desire to accomplish something, if I'm only at a 75% commitment or desire level, my commitment level to that goal will never be higher than 75%. So if I'm 100% in, now my commitment level can be really high. If I'm only 50% in on it, that commitment level is not even going to hit the 50%. So it's really important, as Eddie said, that our relationship with these goals is so important. You've heard me say this before in these meetings and other times, that consistent steps applied in the right direction over a period of time with our focus on the goal will help us get there just about every time. And it doesn't matter that necessarily the size of the steps. It can be small steps, but as long as we consistently apply them and stay focused on what the goal is, we're headed in the right direction. And that desire level and that commitment level keeps us focused on the goal. So if I have a strong desire and commitment and I hit a roadblock, which, you know, who here has set a goal for success and, man, in your mind, it was just a straight line, right? Who here had ever turned out that way? It doesn't, right? What typically happens when we set a goal? Go all over the place. To set a goal, what's the first thing you're doing to your commitment level or to your comfort level? To your comfort zone, when you set a goal, what are you automatically doing?
Challenging
What
yourself.
happened? Go ahead, Austin. What?
Yeah, you're challenging yourself because you're asking yourself to do something that you've not typically, if it's a good goal, you're asking yourself to do something that you've not done before. And most importantly, you're asking yourself to your goal to stretch you a little bit and move you beyond your, I hate to use the word, but moving you beyond your current level of comfort.
And when you step outside of your level of comfort, what happens to your best friend, Miguel, who's right next to you?
What happens to him?
What happens to his comfort zone?
If he's paying attention to what I'm doing, he's probably going to take that as maybe a bit of a challenge and maybe try to join me on my journey, or in a perfect world, he'd hold me accountable for what I said I'd like to change.
In a perfect world, you're right. But what typically happens when we step out and we say we're going to do something we've never done before?
Oh,
that might even seem a little bit of a stretch.
What are you thinking about now, Austin? My, you got more dumb ideas than the Dones has pills, right?
And I see a lot of laughter. We've all been there. Why does that occur? Why do our closest people, our family here, if Bill decided, you know, he's in the middle of my screen, he decided, hey guys, this is what I'm going to do this year. And we're all going, what? You can't do that. Why are you doing that? Are you an idiot? Did you not hear Mikey did that one? And everybody starts to convene. It's not because we don't love him, but it's shaking everybody else's comfort zone. So all of those that are around us that care about us, those that are closest to us, their comfort zones start to get shaken. Well, what do all people really not like, whether they admit it or not, is change. You're changing things. If you go do that, that means I got to change. That means Trish has to change. That means Cortland has to change. All of a sudden, everybody's comfort zone starts to get moved. And that's why we start to feel that resistance. So in our mind, yeah, it's a straight shot. We step out, we announce what we do, or we just start doing it. And all of a sudden say, hey, Kristen, what are you doing? Oh, well, no, what? And all the roadblocks start to come. The hurdles start to come. It's never a clean, easy path. So our desire level and our commitment level has to be high to overcome those obstacles. We got to be able to take the detour. We got to stay focused on the goal. So let's talk about the goals. I heard a quote from Jordan Peterson. He was quoting another philosopher, but I loved this line. It stuck with me forever. He who has a strong why can bear almost any how. Now, what do you mean by that? If your why is strong enough, if your desire is strong enough, you're going to figure out how to accomplish it. You can almost bear any how. The implementation, the tough part, sticking to it, not eating dessert every day because you're trying to lose weight, increasing sales, knowing you have to make 5 more prospecting calls every day. You can bear that because the desire is so strong to accomplish that goal. You know it's going to be the end. It's that small step in the right direction. All right. Who's here is familiar, and I know all the coaches are, SMART goals, right? We've all heard that before, right? And I know there's a lot of controversy around right now, especially a lot of people are coming up with different things and, come on, SMART, they got to be changed. It's worked for my clients. It's worked for me, and I still profess it. All right. So when we're setting our goals, and I think what Eddie said earlier is so critical. We got to have this relationship with the goal. So I love stretch goals. No, big, hairy, audacious. We hear all these things, right? I think you ought to set your goals to where you have a very clear vision of how you're going to accomplish it. Now, I don't even mind if there's a little bit of luck involved. There could be a little bit of luck. Something has to go your way for it to achieve. I love that because I know if you do everything that you want to do to accomplish that goal, that little bit of luck's probably going to fall your way. And if it doesn't, you don't beat yourself up or feel bad like Karen was talking about earlier because you did everything. If that just had gone, so man, let's set another goal. It energizes, it motivates us rather than kind of deflates us. So have a clear vision on how that might be there. Think about what you want to become. Oftentimes, accomplishing the goal isn't as big a victory as what we become in achieving the goal or striving for the goal. Are we the same person that we began the journey as when we end the journey when we start to achieve a goal? Right? Typically, we have to change in some way. So what do you want to become personally and professionally? If you haven't set goals or you're nervous about setting goals, let me offer 4 different categories that I think you ought to start with. The first one would be health and wellness. All right, we can all get better. If we're not physically the best we can be, how can we be the best we can be? So start there. And do like what Eddie had talked about. Have a good relationship. So set the big goal and then break it down into bite-sized pieces that you can accomplish. If you want to lose 20 pounds, don't say I'm going to do it this week. That's not going to happen. But can you do it in 2 months or 3 months? Probably so. So I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to do it in 3 months. What does that mean per month? Okay, 15 pounds. What does that mean per week? What does that mean per day? What does that mean I have to do the next time I open my mouth to put something in it? That I can accomplish. And that, even if I stumble, I can accomplish with consistent steps in the right direction. We can do that with all of our goals. So set goals that make something of you to achieve it. What do you become in striving for the goal? That's as important as achieving the goal. Does this make sense? So when you're thinking of your goals, what are some of the things that maybe you have shied away from in the past that if you reevaluated, if you had just notched it down a bit, would help you be a little bit more dedicated? Why do most New Year's resolutions are already over? And the rest of them will be done by, they say, for whatever reason, Valentine's Day seems to be a date everybody bails on New Year's Eve resolutions. Why is that? It's because we set the goal so tall that we know once we get behind, there's no catching up. right? So if I said I was going to lose 20 pounds in a month, well, it doesn't take long before that's not going to happen, right? And that's 5 pounds a week. That's almost a pound a day. So I get done with first week, and not only did I not lose, I gained a pound. Well, this isn't, and we throw it out. Our desire, our commitment level falls by the wayside.
So Shawn, can I add to that? I want to tie something you said earlier.
Absolutely.
When we talk about resolutions and goals, right? So there's probably with both, there's an equal level of intention, but typically people get started with resolutions, and then there's no infrastructure in place. There's no platform. It's just words spoken. And typically, if we're engaged in a proper activity of goal setting, like you've described up to this point, you have intention, but more importantly, you have a game plan by articulating the SMART goal process and putting elements in place that will help us step by step get to the desired outcome.
And that is so important, right? And we started this by talking about how most people, have no goals. And those that do, don't write them down.
Right.
So if we don't even write them down, do you think we have a plan to accomplish them? No. I mean, we
No.
may have an overview in our head. Hey, I'm going to eat less. Okay, great. And those goals are easy to get beat up on, and they're easy not to have a relationship with. They're easy to fall behind and then just push them off to the side. It's also easy not to set goals because we're afraid of what we have to do to accomplish them. And we don't have the discipline to do that. Well, your desire level is that high. Maybe that shouldn't be one of your goals. A lot of my clients and friends that I talk to have way too many goals.
Right.
Well, heck, how are you going to keep track of all that? And you're going to just wear yourself out trying to stay on track of goals. So again, I said 4 areas. Health and wellness would be the first one. The second will be relationships. And that's probably going to take you the longest to do. But in all the hats that you wear, what do you want out of that relationship? And what can you do to promote that? So what do you have to do to make that relationship as strong as you want it? Move that relationship forward, whether you're a husband or a father or a son, a daughter, a best friend, an employee, an employer. What do you want out of those key relationships in your life? And what can you intentionally do on a regular basis to improve it? That's huge. So those would be the first 2. The third one would be finance. Overall, big picture. And I'm not talking about being a millionaire or a billionaire, although if that's your goal, hey, go for it. But maybe it's just, I want to take my family on a really cool vacation in 2 years. I want to buy a mobile home. I want to buy an RV. I want to buy just a little motorcycle. What goals do you have that require finance? What's that look like? What do you have to do to accomplish that? And so rather than say, I want to go on a vacation in 2 years and then figure out how you get there as you start moving along, we have 2 years to plan for that. I need $10,000 to do that. Well, what's that mean per month? What's that mean per quarter? What do I have to start to do to break this down so that when I get there, that goal is accomplished? And then the last one would be your business. Yeah, finance and business, I separate. Finance is kind of big picture, right? We work because we have other goals we want to achieve. So in your business, what is it? If you're an employer, are you trying to expand your business? Are you trying to sell your business? You're trying to grow percentage. What is it in your business that you want to happen? You want someone else, you want to back out so someone else can run it? You're looking for an end run. You have someone you're going to hand the business off to. What are your plans for your business? If you're an employee, what do you want out of working where you work? Are you looking for more responsibility, greater income, run a division? What is it you want to have? You want to start your own business? Those are great 4 fundamental areas to have a goal. I see Cortland laughing. He's like, man, I'm glad none of my employees are on this call. What is it you want to happen for you? If they're not important to you, you're not going to have that desire and that commitment level that Austin and Eddie have talked about. You're not going to have that relationship that I think was critical of what Eddie said. We're not going to have a relationship with our goals, and they're going to fall by the wayside at the first hurdle. Goals are set to inspire you, not demotivate you. Unfortunately, what Karen said to begin this is so often true, right? So I heard this cool thing, and I'm going to try and say it correctly, and I'll probably mess this up. But as you grow, you achieve. And then as you achieve, you continue to grow. And if you think about that that loop that you can start to get into. It's kind of like when you climb the tallest mountain, you see the next mountain that you want to climb, right? So as you grow, you change, you grow. It's a cool loop. So start thinking about, what can I do to really lay out goals that I, A, am passionate about, and B, I can break down to bite-sized pieces that I can accomplish. How many people here have kids? Remember when you were setting goals for your kids, how big did you set them? Cortland, when you were setting goals for your kids, what was your goal in setting those goals?
Their best.
I'm sorry?
Their best.
Their best. But what was that? What were you trying to do?
Make them better than me.
And so when you were setting goals, how did you do it?
I looked at myself, and then I expected 20% more out of them.
But when you set the goal, when you set the actual goal, was it one that you thought they could achieve if they really worked at it?
Absolutely.
But it probably wasn't so much that they had to be really lucky to do it, though, right? If they just did what you knew they could do, they would achieve that goal, right?
Well, they actually surpassed it, but that's
but when you were setting it, we don't set goals for our kids. My point is, we don't set goals for our kids that they're not going to achieve if they just apply themselves. Yet, as to Karen's point earlier, when we set goals for ourselves, we set them so that's like we almost got to be Superman to accomplish it. Somewhere along the way, we got to disconnect. We think we need to be superhuman when we set these big, hairy, audacious goals. Yet for our kids who we're trying to train and bring up to be better than us, to be the best that they can be, we keep them motivated and achieving, and they start getting a grasp of that. And to Cortland's point, they blew them out of the water. Isn't that what we want for ourselves? Why do we do it differently?
Yeah, my question is how do you get the employees to do the same thing that you've done with your kids and ensure that they're going to stick and achieve? Well, once they achieve the goal, are they going to stick around in order to continue that goal?
And I think that's a question that almost every organization asks, right? So let me ask you, how much buy-in do they get in setting those goals?
Initially, they had significant buy-in, and then as they achieved the goal, they became worn out, I guess is the best term, or the fact that we're now in this mode of working from home rather than working in the office. And they sought other opportunities because of the fact that they wanted to stay home rather than working in the office, because all of their friends are now working from home.
What are the thoughts on that, coaches?
Well, I guess I'll chip in. I mean, I think that a really interesting thing is you brought up the point that they're at home now, and in a way, how does that change? It's like there needs to be an adjustment in how goals are set and how those people will set them, right? And I certainly believe that the first step in any goal setting process with an employee and a boss is for the person to be asked to set their goals for themselves. Because it ends up being a kind of contract between the two of you. And so it's very, very important that they come at that conversation with what they think they can achieve. And it's interesting, you've just mentioned this point that they're now kind of working from home, and that's changed the dynamic. But we kind of have to roll with it and go with the flow there and try and work out how to make that work. Because unfortunately, I don't think, hey, you've got to come back to the office is necessarily going to work anymore. So I'd love to hear a bit more about that and how you think that the new remote working situation has kind of changed that.
They have new employment. I'll just leave it at that. But I mean, and case in point is we began manufacturing projects a year and a half ago, and we accomplished more than what was anticipated. Now then, the folks that were in the manufacturing side decided that they needed new employment because all of their friends were working from home. They took less pay, they're happy now because they're now working from home. But now then I'm personally responsible for all the projects that have got to be completed. So now then my workload went from 7 days a week to now 15 days a week. And I got to figure out how to put more hours in a day. Other than that, hey, I'm having fun.
Is it feasible for your guys to work from home and do, it's not possible, no?
Yeah, this is an ongoing conversation that every organization is having, and every day, and I forget who it was just earlier this week, said, hey, people got to be back in the office. I can't remember which, it was a major organization that stepped up and said, hey, they got to be back in the office. And I think a lot of organizations are finding, even those that were fully committed to remote work. And I know this is something a lot of us online have been kind of involved with for a while now, even pre-COVID, that there is definitely something missed of being in the room together. And I know, Cortland, you've talked about this before, right? Especially for scientists. They don't just perform an experiment by themselves and get everything out of it they could. You know, if I perform an experiment and Cortland sees something that catches his eye, some of the best things come out of that. It's the same thing in almost any creative process. That there's something about being in the room and the energy that's created that ideas spur. We've heard Elon Musk talk about this. Maxwell came out and said he wanted all his people back, and he's written books about working from home. They're noticing now there is a difference. There's something lacking. So there is a balance, I think, that most organizations are trying to strive for right now. And then rounding that back to our conversation about goals, that is a conversation that has to be part of that. So it is a goal, right? What goal is going to come out of this? And I love the idea that Eddie put out there. Have them start. What are your goals? Just like we might with our children. Hey, what do you want to accomplish? And then we kind of guide them to stretch, to make it realistic, whatever it is, right? We help them shape that goal into something we think is doable. We can do the same thing as leaders in our organizations. It's the same process. It's the same concept. They have to have buy-in. Again, if their desire level, their commitment to the goal will never be higher than their desire to achieve that goal. So if it's something I put on them, if I come in and go, Austin, your sales quota today is $1 million. And Austin last year only did 500,000. Unless something's dramatically changed in our world, how much dedication you think Austin's really given to me to that goal? He might nod and go, oh yeah, okay, we'll do that. In the back of his mind, he's going, that dude is crazy. Right. But if I go to Austin and say, man, what are we going to do this year? And he says, I'm going to do $1 million. How are we going to do that? And we spell out a plan that makes sense. Man, we're all on board. And the odds are, doesn't really matter what he did last year. He's committed to it and he's figured out a way that he thinks he's going to accomplish that. Based on the KPIs, based on his history, based on what he knows about himself and his business. It's the same thing we would do with losing weight, right? I'm going to lose 20 pounds. How am I going to do that? I do it over 3 months. What does that mean per month, per week, per day, per meal? I can do that. Let's go. And then I'm going to call Cortland and say, Cortland, here's what I'm doing. We have lunch every day together. Now you're going to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable. So I order a double cheeseburger. Like, dude, what are you doing? And it's done with love, not judgment. And that's the difference, right? When we get people that we truly can count on, I can call Trish and go, here's what I'm trying to do. You're going to hold me accountable? And I know she's not going to call me and go, okay, idiot. You said this. Now, I knew you weren't ever going to do that. When you told me you were going to do that, I thought, that's a stupid. No, it's going to be, Shawn, you said this is what you want to accomplish. So why did you choose to do that? I'm just curious. Okay, I get your point. That's the difference that we can do for each other and for our employees or our employers. Hey, a lot of times we're coaching up, right? We're an employee and we know the leadership is crazy. So we're trying to coach up and figure out, manage up. How can we get that to change? So what do you think, based on everything we've talked about? And I mean, we could talk about goals forever, right? It's a huge, vast topic. But out of our goals, as Bill started earlier, come our priorities. So if we have a goal, we know what our priorities are, right? So it really starts to help us focus our day. What else can we learn based on the way that we might set our goals? What would come out of that? Trish, what do you think?
So the first thing that comes to mind, Shawn, is the desire to achieve that thing, whatever that is, right? So I have to have a real heavy desire to actually want that thing when I set that goal, right? For me, it's about emotion. And I've got to have some emotion behind it. And to your point earlier, when you talked about the why, that's for me, this whole discussion and circling back has really been about there's got to be some desire, some emotion, and some reason why I want to achieve that in order to write it down and go do it.
Again, a big enough why will overcome any how. Love that line. Yeah, that is so powerful. We have a strong enough on why we want to achieve something. Think about when you want to accomplish something for your kids. Is there anything you won't do? It's amazing, right? It's amazing to see what some parents do. A big enough why, a strong enough desire, that commitment level will be huge. So let's do this really quick. And I know we got about 15 minutes, give or take. And this won't take all that time, but before we get to the end, because I know there'll be some more conversation, I want to try this. And so pull out that piece of paper and pencil. Don't give this a ton of thought. Okay. But I want you to quickly list your 3 most important long-term work-related goals. So your 3 most important long-term related goals. This could be achievements you want to make, achievements that'll take you a while to get. Just quickly write them down. Things you've thought you wanted to accomplish. Places you'd like to take your organization, maybe new markets, whatever it is. Okay, and again, without thinking much about it, give you another second to wrap that part up. Cortland was like, man, he did it in 3 seconds. That was impressive. Okay, wrap up what you got there. 3 really quick. And then again, without thinking much about it, quickly write down your 3 most important personal goals. This could be things that, will make a difference in your life. Is it spiritual? Is it spending more quality time with your kids? Is it taking your spouse out on a much needed date night? Maybe it's turning off the TV and actually having a conversation with those around you. Maybe it's that family vacation that's long overdue. What are the 3 most important personal goals? Maybe it's making a conscious effort to eat better, to exercise or lose weight, get in better shape. But what are the top 3? Just write down 3 really quick. Doesn't matter what they are, just write them down. And now as you're wrapping that up, take some time, just a brief minute here, to really visualize what that achievement of those goals look like. If you were to achieve any of those goals that you just wrote down, what does that really look like? Is it really your goal? Is it something that you truly want? And how important is it for you to stay committed? Is it important enough to you, those 6 goals that you've written down, to really stay committed and to do the change to make it happen? So, as we go beyond this meeting and start to do things as you're looking at the next, well, now at this point, it's almost 11 months of the year. What can you do? How can you break down what you've got there? I often kind of look at my goals and I look at the big picture goal, right? And then I start to break that down. If it's a long-term goal, what does that mean I have to do in the next decade or two to accomplish it? Well, if it's a decade, then what do I got to do in the years to make up that decade? And then the months that make up those years, right? Or that year, and the quarters that make up the year, and the months that make up the quarter, and the weeks that make up the months. And if it's a sales goal, right down to the next call that I have to make, what has to happen for me to accomplish my goals? And understanding that it's my goal, it's what I say is important to me. It's not what someone else is putting up on me. These are my goals. What you wrote down are your goals. It's what came off at the top of your head right away. So you either were thinking about it somewhere, you had kind of been a goal before, or it was something that you were nervous to write down because you didn't want to fail. Whatever it is, I would encourage you to really look at that list and figure out, are these really important to me? Why did I write these down? And what can I do in the next, however long that goal is? It could be a huge goal you wrote down. Maybe it is a goal that's going to take 10 or 20 years. So how can you back that down into bite-sized pieces that you can be successful on a regular basis with the consistent steps in the right direction with your focus on what you wrote down to achieve that goal? Any questions about any of that? Any concerns? So of everything that we've talked about today, I'd love to hear some takeaways before we do break off. And Kristen, I'm going to start with you. What'd you get out of today?
Well, I think mine is I keep the goals in my head. So like it allows it to be fluid, which not necessarily a bad thing, but I struggle with the failure side of things where it's like, if I don't meet it, I feel like I failed versus I see that I pushed myself and I just didn't get there yet. So that's okay. So writing my goals is a reminder to, and then I've done this and I've really worked on my business a lot. And so I get that this is really valuable and I really just need to put it down and then keep track of it regularly. So.
Yeah, there's something magical about writing down our goals. And I think it does. It takes it from that where we allow it to be fluid. So, hey, if we stumble here, if something doesn't go, or we don't want to really put the effort in on this month, we can always keep adjusting that goal. But what happens to that goal? It's not really a goal. It's more of a wish, or a dream, right? It just always, it's somewhere in the future. Great. Thank you for being so transparent. Cortland, what do you think? You shared a lot today. And I appreciate it. And I know we all do.
I didn't mean to.
No, I love it.
This discussion also reminded me of one of the trainings Austin gave a while ago where, and this is one of the issues that I continue to see is whenever I'm striving to do new things, I'm the only one out in the middle of the field looking around for everybody else to come join me and trying to find folks that I can hand it off to so that we can achieve the main opportunity or the main goal out of that directional shift that I made for the company. And in today's time, with the change in attitude, generational change in attitude, it's becoming more and more difficult to achieve some of the goals from this old man that I need to pass on or ask somebody younger to do because they just don't want to do that level of commitment. And it was made apparent yesterday when one of our employees said, hey, I'm yours from 8 to 5, but at 5:05, I'm out the door. I don't care if your clients are happy or not. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's a mind shift that I've got to understand. And that's kind of where we are with a lot of the opportunities that we see is, it's about making the commitment to the goal to get the goal achieved versus the commitment on the individual to achieve that same goal.
Yeah, there's really two types of commitment and you've nailed them both, right? There's that conditional commitment, which is just what you described. It's like, I'll do whatever it takes from 8 to 5, as long as it's not too hard. And as long as I don't hit too many hurdles. But after that, and then there's that, unconditional, or whatever it takes, which a lot of us, that's the only commitment we knew, right? We were committing. We're committed. It's going to happen. No condition to it. If I tell Eddie I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. Why, when we set a goal like to work out, if I know Troy's at the gym waiting on me, I'm very apt to show up. Right? We're going to meet Friday at 7:00 or whatever. I'm going to be there. If it's just Shawn saying I'm going to work out every Friday at 7:00, I can tell you, I know me. I'm probably going to miss some of those. But it's true with all of us, right? If we have someone else in the fire with us and someone else is counting on us, for whatever reason, that commitment level is higher. That's why accountability works so well. That's why I know, to a person that's a coach on this, a vast majority of what we do is help hold our clients accountable to what they say is important to them. And they're very, very thankful for that, because it does make a difference. They get to where they want to go a heck of a lot faster. So thank you for sharing that, Corbin. I love it. Susie, what do you think as a newcomer here? What'd you get out of today?
Well, I love New Year's and I love goal setting, and that idea of like a fresh new year and a new start and getting a new planner and writing down new goals. I just love it. It's awesome. So I did write down my business goals and my personal goals. I've been trying to kind of reintegrate myself, like self-integration, and have my word of the year and all of that. But as I've been sitting here, I've been thinking, like, I just hired my first VA. And then I kind of realized, well, my expenses just went up by like, $500 a month. And I was kind of afraid, sitting here and looking at that. And then I realized one of the goals I wrote down without thinking about it was to increase my income. So, I just have to kind of balance those two things, and then it will take care of itself once after this month, with all the bookkeeping craziness that happens, at the beginning of a new year for the year that has passed, all of those numbers have to be caught up. So after I'm finished with that, if I can sit down this quarter and just hash that out, that will be a great way to fulfill that goal, and to also be able to grow. Because without hiring that VA, then I'm stuck in that loop of trying to do all the work myself and do the marketing and wear all the hats. So
Absolutely. So Austin, I'm going to ask you to encourage her. What would you encourage her, given that, to, if you put your coach hat on, give her some encouragement?
So what I would do is first, if you haven't done so already, is to sit down with your VA and lay out some very, very clear expectations about what you're going to focus on and why that's important to you and why it's important to the firm. Then here are the 10, 12, whatever number of things that he or she needs to do. And so and through this expectation setting process, that's basically becomes your formula for success. And then we've been talking about this, how do we get buy-in? I think we got to get people to buy in, to help them understand that we either win or we lose together. It's not, I win, you lose. It's a team or joint effort. And then in terms of accountability systems or mechanisms, it's either a Monday call or a bi-weekly call every day, every week, or some periodic, some regular frequency, where we're looking at what we said we were going to do, what we accomplished, and then what was the variance about actual versus plan. And then we course correct throughout the week, the year, the month. And so, so what that tells your VA, that these expectations, they are so important to you that you're willing to take time from your schedule, sit down and review them with him or her on a regular basis. And so that cadence, that regularity, that creates an unbelievable level of commitment to the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I was just going to say that I think it's really important not to be afraid of short-term goals, and that they can even be for the day ahead. And very often, I think when in the business environment, we tend to feel like we have to work out what's going to happen in 6 months. But in reality, what people really want to know is what they need to do today, what they need to do this week. And so I think that having that constant rethink, just, what are we going to achieve today? What do we want to achieve by Friday? As I say, it's like a little ongoing contract, and just great communication, and then being able to say on Friday, did we achieve it? So I don't think it needs to be that complicated.
I agree 100%. I do that myself. Sunday night, I plan for the week, list everything I want. I review, what did I accomplish? And it's amazing to me how many things I list that I think are really important that just drop off the list by Friday. How much time did I just save? We just have a couple minutes left. I'd love to hear from Karen. She was so honest in sharing and being transparent. What are you thinking now, Karen?
I'm still the same way, but ditto Kristen earlier, I know I need to do them, so I just have to continue to work on them. So like I've been writing them this year, but not every day or whatever, but at least I did do them this morning. So just continue to do them. And now with your desire and commitment part of the equation, I can add that to my list of making sure what I'm desiring, I'm committed to getting it done. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here. Trish, I'm gonna let you close us out.
Thank you, Shawn. That was amazing. Thank you for leading us through that. Goals are hard. And for those of you who are not coaches on today with us, it's hard for coaches too, by the way. We are not even near perfect when it comes to getting our goals and hitting our goals and writing our goals all of the time. We're human as well. And it is a scary thing, right? It's a scary thing to write something down and say, I'm going to go do this. But when you surround yourself with the right people, like Shawn talked about, and you have a goal that is very meaningful to you, you can and will be successful. Shawn, thanks so much for doing this for us today. Thank you to Kristen, Suze, Karen, Cortland. Is always a pleasure to have you on board. We're glad that you guys are here. Join us the second Thursday of every month. We love your input, and especially your looking in from the outside from your profession and your industry. It helps us all grow. That's why we come here. So thank you, everyone.
Bye all. Nice to see you.